Hey, people. Hope everyone is doing great. Put down your Trump NFT cards and get the show going. Yeah. 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 I don't think I'll be buying any of the Trump NFT cards anytime soon. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. Anyway, probably not a lot of football fans watching this, given that it's not that big of a deal in the United States. So it is in the rest of the world, man. Argentina, you have my flag over there. That's a flag I've been carrying around the world since a while back. Argentina just won the FIFA World Cup. It is huge. It is something that happens only once every 4 years, and winning it's the most popular sport in the planet by far. Even though in the United States it's not a big deal, in the rest of the world it's yet again one of those weird things in which, how can you explain something like this to someone that doesn't follow a football, or that even calls it soccer, which is almost like calling an asado a barbecue. It's just not the same thing. But very interesting, super happy. Honestly, a lot of it I just stopped watching because it's just too much. It is, first going points nil in last 30 minutes, I think it was. You get one penalty, which was fair. Penalty was fair. And Mbappe, which is a great player, within a minute, another one. So all of a sudden, you're 2-2. Go overtime. Then they get giving what was, I think it was a scandalous penalty that was not a penalty at all. The player had his hands tucked, right? He was not intending to touch the ball at all and just got hit by it, by the French player. That was shady as hell. Goal from Messi, so winning again, and man, going to penalties, and penalties are, yeah. It is a shame that so many Americans don't follow this sport. I think it's by far, people die during these things because of heart attacks. I can't bear to watch sometimes. So it is pretty intense, to say the least. Anyway, super happy that we won. This has been a great weekend. My son won a couple medals in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a competition that he participated for the first time ever, ending up with two medals. That's pretty sweet. So good weekend, man. Very happy. Of course, the personal stuff is a lot more important than the your national team winning, but still a nice feeling. Anyway, I do have, if you're watching the channel, you're still watching the Modern Survivalist channel, and there is, as always, little things, little links. I have something I want to share with you guys that is linked to some of the topics that I cover here. And yes, it has something to do with the World Cup, ironically, but everything is connected. There's always something. Let me just first go through some of the comments, and then I have Dibu Martinez, the hero. This guy, a titan. Yeah, anyway, I'll show you guys that later, because he says something that, it hits right here, and it goes to some of the points that I often talk about here in the channel about how, anyway. Let me first, I'm Elon. Yeah, I doubt that very much. Can't wait for a show. Well, here we are. Green Knight, that's from Slovakia, right? That was the greatest game of all time. Messi's the greatest player of all time. Messi probably is now considered by everyone the best player of all time. He's always been, there's always been a level that he's been. Again, one of the things that I feel sorry for people that don't follow the sport, you miss some impressive stuff. Messi has always been the kind of player that seems like to not even be human the way he plays. But there was always the thing of, he hasn't won a World Cup. As if winning a World Cup was easy, which is definitely not. And as if winning a World Cup was something that a single man could do. You're looking at a team game. You have 11 guys in the field, and it's not depending on one guy. But the only thing that was always said is that, if you haven't won a World Cup, you cannot be, crowned the best ever. Anyway, he definitely got that now. And so, yes. So let me know, Green Knight, you're from Slovakia, right? I see this. Is that a Slovakian flag, or do I have my flags mixed up there? 1776, or are you getting it now? Yeah, I think we all do. Conscious movie reviews. Thanks, man, for being here as always. Referral, put down your Trump NFT cards and get the show going. Yeah. You know, I don't get it. The idea of Trump humiliating himself with cartoon digital NFT cards. I mean, NFTs, if there's a low point for NFTs, this is the lowest point. You're talking about a point in which there's a guy that should be in jail, and some of these NFT brokers, there's people getting hit on. There's people getting assassinated because they stole a lot of money from some folks they probably shouldn't, with cryptocurrency scams. And sometimes people get this confused. No, not all cryptocurrencies are the same. Bitcoin is not an NFT, is something completely different. But the idea of Donald Trump doing a corny, poorly drawn card of himself like a superhero, this is the low point. Some people, I've been reading some comments about how this is the low point of becoming Idiocracy, like the movie, which, by the way, if you haven't seen Idiocracy at this point, it's no longer a comedy, it's a documentary of what's happening around the world. So it is that low point. I mean, how can you stick with a man doing this kind of thing? What is it that he owes? He needs more money. He needed a couple quick millions for whatever reason. The NFT thing has been the final nail in the coffin for the political ambitions of Trump, at least the way I see it. As always, that's the way I see it. And if you see it some other way, that is perfectly fine, especially in terms of politics. You can like whoever it is that you want. But, man, it is a tough sale. Trying to sell Trump as a solid alternative right now, it is difficult. Mbappe with a hat trick. Yeah, Deus Ex Machina. I wouldn't brag too much about Mbappe's hat trick. I mean, yeah, he's a great player. One of those was not a penalty at all. The Argentine player stuck his arms against his body, like trying to not touch anything as he jumped to intercept the ball. If that hits you in your arm as you're not trying to actively touch the ball, that is not a penalty in any universe. And yet he got it, which is very suspicious. But you know what is the most obvious corrupt thing about all of this mess? Emmanuel Macron there in the celebration, handing out the medals to who was it supposed to handle medals? Why the hell is Macron in a celebration of the FIFA World Cup winner? I mean, did they know that France was supposed to win? Was that really the plan all along? Is this because the Qatari elite owns PSG and a number of clubs, and there's a lot of interest in their investment in France? I don't know, but the huge red flag for me is, why the hell is Macron giving out medals? I mean, where's the freaking president of Argentina? No, not that anyone wants to see the poor bastard, but why is Macron there? Why on earth was he even there giving out medals, which it would have been suspicious even if France won, but because, just anyway, if there's anything corrupt in this planet, that is FIFA. It is an organization that is always there to whitewash. So, I memean, there's always a point in which it is a game in which you have 11 guys running after a ball. You can have, you can have a referee that is, calling always against you, and it can become very obvious at times. But at the end of the day, if the other team doesn't score enough, yet you can level that game one way or the other. So there's always that suspicion of corruption. The way it goes with FIFA is it always works as a whitewashing of dirty regimes, right? You have Qatar right now, which is always, you had it in Russia, World Cup in Russia. China, always FIFA favoring the idea of, for a lot of money, whitewashing the image of a questionable government in countries that are going through interesting times. Let's put it that way. Deus Ex Machina, congrats to Messi and Argentina. Ronaldo is still the GOAT for me, dude. You don't know anything about. If you think that Ronaldo, like the Portuguese Ronaldo, no, man, he's not the best. Samurai, even Maradona was better than Ronaldo. Great player nonetheless, but yeah, not better than Messi. It's disgusting to see expats fly the flag of the land they left. Soccer is you lost me at this word soccer. That is not a thing. It doesn't exist in this civilized world. It is only football. If you keep playing soccer, you'll never play football. That's one of the things that needs to change, and it's something that should definitely. It is a beautiful game. I've always sucked at it. I've never been good at it, which, it's being from Argentina. It's kind of like the thing that this is like being a Japanese guy and everyone expects you to know like karate or something like that. If you're from Argentina, everyone expects you to be good at football and to know how to do asados, barbecues, which, you do with coal or firewood or whatever. Everyone expects that if you're from Argentina, you know how to cut up an animal and cook it in fire. Yeah, I know. And pretty much it is true. Pretty much every Argentine knows how to cook food with fire or, charcoal or firewood or whatever, and somehow kick around a ball. I've always been terrible at kicking, footballs. So, yeah, it has never. I just don't have it in me. I don't have that skill, that thing that some guys have and that Messi had, God-given. Like, it is impressive. If you haven't seen, look it up. Google up. And for the guy that said that Ronaldo is the best player, Google Messi playing as a 5-year-old. It is not normal. That is not how normal human beings move at that age. And the guy had a growth hormone deficiency, so he was little and still. Whew. Di Maria was a difference. Di Maria, yeah, he's pretty injured. So I'm surprised that he was even playing, let alone scoring. But yeah, special people that just know how to play very, very well. I thought the referee managed the game just right as well. The more survivalist, Caleb Luck. I think that penalty was the last one was the first one was fair. Not saying it wasn't. That was fair enough. And in previous matches, I think that the one against there were a couple. I mean, it's FIFA. You never know what hand you're being dealt. I'm shocked. That's the real Slovenian flag. Very impressed. Yeah, why are you surprised? I was rooting for TT Eddie. Yeah, I was rooting for Argentina because I admire Messi, but I said late in the game, I'm glad I'm only a casual fan. Otherwise, they would have been too stressful. It is terrible. And for people that think that football is boring, again, that's because you've only seen soccer. The kind of thing that soccer moms play. There's no female football. There's no such a thing. No one cares about it. What is it that the female team from the United States won a World Cup? No one watches that. No one cares. It is like watching little 5-year-olds kick around a ball. With all due respect, I understand that they do their best, but it is just not entertaining. It's not the same thing. There's not the level of skill involved. So I get it that if you're and one of the things that sometimes women don't get, it is not even women that like women football or soccer or whatever it is that the hell they play. If some of the women in this planet watch a little bit of female football, it would have a massive following. Half of the world is pretty much women, it's pretty much female. If they watch women's soccer or football, there would be a massive following, especially given that most of the consumer decisions everywhere, this is kind of like universal, it's done by women. Women decide how you spend money in a house, pretty much. Guys pretty much kind of like work, make the and even in more modern families where women and the man and the woman both work, it is still the women in general that manages the household or makes some of those last calls of how is it that you go about stuff. Anyway, well, yeah, super stressful. Honestly, I just couldn't watch the penalties. I said, fuck this. I'm not dropping dead over a guy kicking a ball. Lone Gunman X, good afternoon and good evening from the best South Carolina. Yeah, okay. If you say so, absolutely. Sergio Carrera, Fernando, todos sabemos que la percepción sirve para tapar. Yeah, he's saying in Spanish that we all know that the corruption always around football and FIFA is super corrupt. Well, guys, you will have the next FIFA World Cup will be in the United States. If you haven't heard about any of this, and little warning, the world will change in many of the ways we talk about here in the channel, but if football, you start thinking more about football than soccer in the next few years. And 4 years from now, you will see the next football World Cup being played in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It's going to be played in the 3 countries, mostly the United States. And yeah, some of the matches will be in Mexico and Canada. I think it's mostly going to be a U.S. That's going to be impressive. If you have any chance at all, even if you don't like football, even if you're one of these poor souls that will rot in hell for calling the beautiful game soccer, even if you're one of those guys, sign up, start making plans. 4 years from now, you want to go there because it's definitely one of the highlights of world sports. It's one of those massive events that you have to be there to see it. I'm again not a huge fan. I've had the luck to be in some nice matches back in the day. It is impressive. You don't see that. It's not something you see people usually do. So yeah, conscious movie reviews. Trump has always been campy. He hasn't changed over decades. Just go with it. Conscious movie reviews. I've been reading some other stuff about some of the changes that Trump is making, going more pro-LGBT. I was just reading about that. I have to read more. But if that's the case, if that's the hill he chose to die on, becoming the conservative, rich LGBT guy now, that would be, for me personally, the final nail in his coffin. I never liked the guy much. I think for me, he would lose me 100%. I would have no faith in the man whatsoever. If now, the card thing is ridiculous, but supporting the perversion of the left, that's something that I just cannot see. I don't see how you can say that you have any kind of conservative right-wing values, any standard of any kind, and go with a guy that supports the woke LGBT agenda, right? That's something that, if he's really doing that, I, again, haven't done enough research now so as to maybe put a video up on it, maybe later, but that would be terrible. That would be the last straw that breaks the camel's back, at least for me. Again, other people may have completely different ideas. Just showing how much of a soap opera politics is. To the stress, the best part. No, I hate it. I hate that stress is terrible. George Orwell, I don't see a problem with Trump's NFTs as a libertarian. If someone wants to buy a cartoon picture of Trump, I say more power to Trump and the people who will buy them. It's not even a piece of cardboard. It is literally nothing. George Orwell 2020. He's not even selling the physical card. He's selling a digital version of that card. So you're basically buying the download of that image with a number assigned, which is the NFT. Kind of basically what it is. And I get it. I'm with you there, George Orwell. I'm with you there with the idea of if I want to sell best wishes or good vibes, send me $100 and I'll send you good vibes. And you want to pay for that? Sure. It's just as a former president of the United States, if this is the point you've reached of selling little childish, poorly drawn cartoons of yourself, and it's not even money for a campaign, which he's supposedly running for. So if he was doing it like for a campaign, I would say, yeah, this is your best. There's so many other things. Even having like a raffle, in which you win the chance of having dinner with him or whatnot. Sure. Having little cartoons of yourself in a shameful, poorly drawn matter, that is something that looks like some shady Chinese dude sent you a couple emails telling you that you can make a couple quick $1 million and you went all in for that because you don't give a damn about anything anymore. As a politician, I don't see how that made any sense. whoever is advising him is an idiot. Whoever is advising Trump on, hey, look, Mr. Trump, we can make a couple $1 million if we have a cartoon of you shooting lasers out of your eyes or riding a dinosaur. I would go, yeah, I'm trying to be serious here. I'm trying to be, again, the president of the United States. I don't want to be a joke for everyone. Lone Gunman X, thank you, man, for the super chat. Someone has to be first. Thanks, much appreciated. The super chat from Lone Gunman X. Caleb Black. They called it a penalty because his arm was raised up. They call it an unnatural position, and it may be underestimating referee. I honestly, the one I saw was him clearly tucking his arms against the body. If you raise your arm and if you purposely do something that you move your arm, I mean, you could block it with your shoulder. That is, I mean, there's been goals scored with the guy. I think Maradona did that. Well, Maradona scored with his hand in the famous, hand of God. So one of the things that sometimes people forget is in that match against England, he scored once with a hand, and the other one is called the goal of the century for a reason. He literally ran across the entire team and scored single-handed. So, yeah, that one was, football pop culture, I guess, at this point. But I think, and not only that, there was one in which the Argentine team was calling for a penalty when the same thing happened. One Argentina player kicked the ball, and one of the French guys, it hit him on the side of the on the arm, but he had his arm like tucked, trying to not, purposefully block the play. And he, even though the Argentine players were calling for a penalty, the referee said, no, it's not. And he let it went on. So I thought that was fair, even though it would have benefited the Argentine team. But when the same thing happens at the last minute of the match and you call that, I honestly think that if he's not trying, and maybe I have to watch it again, but I saw that, and his hand was against the body. Should make video about surviving a soccer riot. There's been people that have died in those things, and the advice is just try to not get caught in one, because if you do, you're likely to go under. Where was it? Was it in Korea recently that there was? I think it was in a football match. Was it in Korea or some other country that there was a riot? There was one in Argentina, very famous, in which like a dozen people died. They were all crushed, and they had closed the gates so as to stop people from entering without paying the ticket, right? And a lot of people were crushed to death. Yes, stupid things, because losing your life over a football match. Lebowski 125. At the end of the day, it's just a game, but where I come from, people get murdered through football. Yeah, I come from that same place. Knockface, as always, there. A soldier, a patriot for the channel, Knockface, with his super chat. Thanks, man, as always, for your support. Really, I do appreciate it a great deal. Okay, Fernando, come clean. How many of these Trump NFTs have you already got? Trying to corner the market, are you? Seriously, if Hunter Biden can sell his art and no one bats an eye, Trump can sell his NFTs. Yes, that is not only fair, that is absolutely true. Yeah, of course. Again, I'm not saying that Trump should not sell. I think that he should not be selling his NFTs because it is kind of like a poor joke and kind of ridiculous. Now, it is not a crime like what it's most likely happening with Hunter Biden. And for those of you that don't know what's going on with Hunter Biden art, is this. The crackhead son of the president of the United States, and I'm not trying to insult anyone. The man is indeed a crackhead. He smokes crack. If you smoke crack and you have a problem abusing crack, you're considered a crackhead. That's what you do. So Hunter Biden, crackhead painter, he does like horrible cartoon art. It is almost as bad as NFT of the art in Trump's NFTs. But the thing is this, he sells his art for hundreds of thousands of dollars to collectors. What is this? Well, this is obviously a way in which you can funnel a shitload of bribes through the selling of art. So I have, I do this, this is my, I draw this thing, right? I have this. This is my art. This is Fernando's art. And I'm selling this for $1 million, and some guy from China pays $1 million for this. You may be thinking, well, you're a very talented artist. Yeah, or you're receiving a bribe and the art is only an excuse. There's no way of judging that, well, this piece of paper is worth nothing, or, someone pays you $10 million for it, or, I do some very quick, shitty paintings and I sell each one for $100,000 or $200,000. That is just a bribery, because you know why? There's no context to that. If there's truly an artist that is renowned in the community and really has artwork selling for massive amounts of money, and someone pays massive amounts of money for that, sure, that's fair enough. Fair enough. You're a well-known artist that has, made a career and you're now super wealthy. Yeah. But if you are literally a crackhead doing childish drawings, and the way in which you hide your bribes is by selling art, that is the kind of thing that should land them in jail. All of them. All of that gang. Not going to happen. Anyway, yeah. Talking about corruption, FIFA, and all of that, right? Patricia, vamos, ver ganamos. Yeah, I'm super happy. I'm super happy as well. It's something that Matt isn't on this close. Yeah, I don't know where Matt is. He's probably, doing something with his afternoon. No idea. Judo is Japan. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you got me. Judo is Japanese. Yeah, true. Karate is Japanese as well, right? Isn't it? Karate. Anyway, conscious movie reviews. Very valuable baseball cards. Fauci throwing the ball at a game. It is a thing. There's Pokemon cards that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, the collector market is very weird at times. Even with stuff like that gun that you see there. Is that worth $1,000? For a lot of people, it is. Yes, of course. You're comparing one of the most classic, one of the more beautiful firearms ever made, a stainless steel Colt Python with Trump's NFT. No, I'm not. Am I comparing it to a crackhead biting art? Of course not. But you don't know. Maybe one day the Trump NFT is actually worth more money. Who knows? I have my doubts that it will be worth a lot of money, but stranger things have happened. What I do know for sure is that whatever it is that Hunter Biden is, painting while on crack is not worth the money he's getting paid. Yeah. I don't know what might have been regress. TT. The good thing about sucking in sport is there's no what might have been regrets later in life. Yeah. Sports are still super important. Now we're trying to go into the survival prepper thing. As I was saying before, my son did very well in a competition this weekend, and that was super nice to watch. Seeing it's very hard as a parent to see your son competing in something where he's literally fighting a guy trying to, choke him to death or break some part of his body. But it's also very cool when he ends up winning. But I think that there's something to be said about how much that builds character. I mean, he's already a grown man. He's 20 years old. My oldest son, the one I'm talking about, competed this weekend. But even at that age, sports, especially combat sports, have that thing of you learn to accept defeat. You learn to prevail over someone that's doing his best to literally dominate or beat you physically in a very direct manner. It was also interesting because I saw some very little kids compete. That I think there's a point of diminishing returns. I saw some very little kids competing in jiu-jitsu. I don't know exactly what age. I think that's 7, 8-year-olds. It's fine if you take them to that to try to learn and train and all that. Now, competition where they're going against other little kids that may have parents that have a very different idea of what is a healthy parenting. I saw so many little kids cry, And you may be, oh, that's good, so I should toughen them up. Yeah, no, you have no idea. If that's your idea of good parenting, that's completely misguided. I think there's an age in which they're just too young, and being publicly, hurt physically and humiliated. It is the boys would cry more than the girls. The girls maybe would go at each other a little bit, but especially for boys, they were crying so bad. The kids that were losing. I wouldn't take my kid at that age. Maybe something else, or maybe take him, but don't have him involved in competition. This is more about parenting, and everyone makes their decisions. I think that is great to have your child involved. Martial arts. My son, the one teenage, he's in judo, which I think it's great for him. Probably will start competing eventually, but already a little bit older now. A very young kid, my 4-year-old. I don't see myself taking him to compete. That is maybe a bit too much. Maybe when he's older and it's more of a personal decision. That is maybe I think that is that is hitting the nail in the head. That would be the key thing. Personal decision. Those little kids are not making the personal decision of fighting, physically fighting, for their bodily well-being against that other child. You're making that decision. I think that is not something you should do, but practice, train, be as good as you can. Go into competition where there's higher stakes and there's an entire audience watching, talking about hundreds of people watching. It was brutal, man. I saw 3 guys being taken away in an ambulance, and not football kind of injury. I'm talking about guys that got hurt very, very bad, like broken arms and just popped shoulders, and people very hurt being taken away in a stretcher and put in an ambulance and rushed to a hospital. Trump NFCs wouldn't even have been noticed. I think anyway, if he wants to make money with that, I think that as a former president of the United States and someone that is already a running candidate for the highest office in the land, should have a little bit of higher standards than that. I think that is, man, he's almost like, although it's not like probably a crime like selling little drawings of your son for hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is super shady. Messi is a natural talent, no doubt. I admire Ronaldo has done to elevate Portugal by winning Euros and National League. I think Ronaldo is a fantastic player. And you know what I think is almost unfair for Ronaldo? That man has, not only does he have immense natural talent, because if not, he wouldn't reach, but the man has worked his ass to death. He's done it. And I think it wasn't fair the way in which he was treated lately, especially how he was put on the bench like that and treated like shit by Manchester United. I think he deserved better, because and both of the guys actually respect the hell out of each other. Performance, multiple leagues with, the multiple league thing is something that is brought up sometimes. Sometimes you do these things because you're just not fitting well in a place. When you have pretty much when you're almost like running the club the way you want it and having pretty much all working for you, why on earth would you go to Manchester United? I don't think Messi would have won what he won with other clubs. Probably he could have. The idea of do that in Stock one rainy Sunday afternoon or something like that. I think he was super comfortable where he was, and I don't think that Ronaldo would have moved anywhere else if he had been treated like Messi was treated for a long time in Barcelona. Of course, it ended up poorly, but Fernando is women sports are boring as hell. You know what? I don't want to be unfair because, for example, female field hockey, that's kind of like a big thing in Argentina. And the national team, I've watched some female field hockey. It is good, man. And I don't know what it is. With guys, I don't find it as interesting. There's some other sports in which women compete and they're great at. There's great female athletes. And if there's someone that has been suffering all of the madness from the left, it's been female sports, female athletes competing against men that suddenly identify themselves as women. I think it is terrible. But there's sports that where women just do fantastically great. What I think is, for example, the combat sports, like Rose Namajunas, that woman that fights in the UFC, fantastic martial artist. And unlike some of the droid-run monster freaks that you see, she's actually a natural woman. I don't know if she's juicing or not, but apparently there's nothing in her constitution that it would indicate any of that. I think she's actually natural and very good at fighting. I mean, of course, you wouldn't put her to fight against a man, but yeah, absolutely respect the crap out of women that do tough things like that. But when you have something like football, you always end up comparing one against the other because it is more of a show. It is more of a spectacle rather than individuals competing against one another. So when it's more of a show, more of a spectacle, you cannot compare the spectacle and show that it is guys playing compared to women playing. I at least find it just looks slower and less skills. So soccer is kids sport, but football is adult version. Pretty much, yeah. That's basically it. Soccer is something that the idea of a soccer mom, that is American. No one in the world thinks of football as something that mommies take their little kids to just everyone gets a medal. No, it's do or die. And getting into that point, I want to show you guys this. This is the goalie, the goalkeeper of Argentina, crying his eyes out. And I wish I had Spanish subtitles, but anyway. Yeah. What he's saying here is, let me play that for him. Who do you dedicate the win to? And he says, my family over there, right? My son. And this is what I want to share with you guys. He says, I come from a very humble place. I left when I was very young to England. And I want to dedicate it to my family. I just saw that, and if you don't come from the same place this guy comes, you don't get it. You don't understand it. When he says, I come from a very humble, poor place, and I left very young to live in England, it's not something that he wanted to do, right? Yes, he does it, and so many players do that. They leave their countries and go place abroad, and it's fantastic for them. The guy is a multi-millionaire, right? He will be fine. All of these guys that you see crying their eyes out, let alone Messi that makes $250 million a year or something insane like that, they're all fine. No one here is starving. But the tears are real in terms of people that come from a very humble background, poor, a poverty that not many people understand in developed countries. And even if they're hardworking families, there's still that thing of you have the chance of going to England and becoming a football world star and becoming a millionaire. You take that chance. You take that. No question. It doesn't mean that that's exactly what you wanted to do with your life. Ideally, you would stay in your country and have a good life as well. You would be rich in your country, being good at what you do. But even this is the sour, sweet situation of even if you end up playing for a Premier League team and becoming a millionaire and being more than okay in terms of financial, you're still someone that left your country behind. You're not home anymore. You're elsewhere. You may have a lot of money. You may have a better life, but you're not home anymore. That is not your country. and they will make you know that you're not home, that's definitely not your country. And especially if you're an Argentine playing in UK, you will know that it's not where you're from, and a lot of people will probably not make you very welcome. And you become tough, you roll with the punches, you go on. But it's always that thing of course, ideally, you would not leave. You would be in your country doing what you love. And that's why these guys cry their eyes out. And especially, well, it's kind of difficult to explain, but especially in a country like Argentina, with all the shit that we've gone through and we still go through till this day, all of these guys, all of those players, they have the weight of, I mean, they're not risking their livelihood. They're not risking a damn thing financially, personally, but they know that the happiness of a lot of people, a country that has, half the population in poverty or worse, 20% below the poverty line. The idea of the only joy those guys will see is waving that flag and knowing that they're champions of the world at something, that they have something to celebrate. That is something that you cannot understand if you don't come from that same place. So yeah, the topic of the video was not so much the World Cup, but yeah, that thing of you can go anywhere. You can be an expat, because if we're talking about refugees, that's what other people do. When you go to live to another country, from a first world country, you're never an immigrant. You're always an expat, right? And yeah, still, even if you label yourself different, you're still an immigrant, and that is not really your country. You may become, used to the culture and adapt to it and love whatever country you're in, and even become a citizen of that country eventually. You can do all of that. This is not like being born a man and thinking you're a woman, or being a woman and thinking you're a dinosaur. No, you can have a different nationality. It's a piece of paper that says, yes, this guy has this nationality. And you may think, well, but if you're born in a country or not, yeah, that is a fact. You cannot change that. But you can change your nationality. You can give up your American citizen and no longer be American, even if you were born in the United States. And you can get, whatever citizenship that you want eventually, with due process. But it doesn't change the fact that you were born in a place and you were raised in a certain culture, and it's not the one that you're currently in, no matter how well you adapt, no matter how well you do. Let me go to some. So yes, I guess that the point there is, if you're thinking of moving elsewhere, and there's more and more people that ask about these things, especially people considering moving abroad. Yes, guys, in the United States, more and more people are raising that question. Yeah, you can definitely do that. And when you see things like a man that owes $70,000 because he was bitten by a dog in a park, and went to a hospital to get treated, that is the kind of thing that scares the crap out of some people. The idea that at any moment you may suffer a simple accident or injury and you're broke. You're damn broke because the system is rigged against you. That's the kind of thing that is making more and more people think, maybe there's something else. And there is, but it has its pros and its cons. It has its good things and its bad things. And one of the bad things that it will have is it won't be the United States. It won't be the country that you call home. Eventually, we'll call home somewhere else if you make that choice, right? That's fine. And you may have a better life elsewhere. You may have a super happy, fulfilling life elsewhere. But we have to be honest with, and there's maybe a pile of pros and benefits, but one of those cons, one of those disadvantages, one of those things that will always be there, like a spine on the side is, you will always miss home. Anyway, let me go back to the comments. All parties are left wing. Look at the Tories in UK. Agenda never changes. Yeah, it is. It is true. Yes, absolutely. Most parties. Well, it really depends where you are. Where you have two-party systems, you're kind of rigged. It's a system in which there's very little opportunity for an outlier, for an outsider, someone that is out of that. Is always going to be a team player, someone that is part of that bipartisan system. Either in UK or in US, the idea of having the monopoly over politics, because you either have to be one of those two, makes of kind of like a fixed game. Steve Bishop, hey man, hope you're doing okay. Hi, Fairfell on NFTs. Just because Trump can doesn't mean he should. The only reasons to do that card would be to pay off and losing a bet, or to give 100% to a real charity. I agree with you 100%. I think that, yes, you can do lots of, Donald Trump can start stripping for money. He can offer his services and take off his clothes in front of a bunch of strangers and have people put bills in his underwear. He can do that. Free country and all. Pretty sure at least some freedoms are still enjoyed in the United States. Should he be doing that? I think that if you're running for president, you should not be stripping for money or doing this joke of mockery of yourself, almost like ridiculing yourself into superhero cartoon things with laser, or riding an elephant, or stupid crap like that. I think that it's not serious, and you're running for a serious job. You're running for being the president of the United States. It used to mean something, and he's not helping the cause. And you may look at Biden and say, "Oh, this is so humiliating. Our president is a man that should be in a care facility." And yes, I agree with you 100% there as well. My camera is constantly going out of focus. I still have to figure that thing out. But yeah, I agree with you that a man like Biden has no business being the standing president of the United States. Try to get it focused. But what is he doing? What is Trump doing? He lost a bet. He owes someone money. Someone is about to break his knees if he doesn't repay money fast enough. Anyway, Steve Bishop, you do realize Trump lost a buttload of money being president of the United States, right? And unlike the commies, he won't be able to get it back selling insulin. I thought he was a multimillionaire, wasn't it? He goes bankrupt. He goes broke because he was running he's president of the United States. Can't he do something like other former presidents have done, like having lectures or write a book about being anything other than what he did? We sleep safely in our beds because rough men stand ready in the night to visit violence on those who would do us harm. Yeah, that is also very much true. Hunter's art is money laundering. Yes, it is probably money laundering. Before YouTube destroys me yet again, I'm saying probably. I don't know for a fact, but if I sell this little dude that I have here as a collector's piece and someone pays me $1 million, you bet your ass that someone will check that I'm not doing money laundering. Is this little guy really worth that in the market? Is it? Because if it is, that's perfectly fine. If I'm selling, the first edition of Superman, the #1 Superman comic that is worth hundreds of thousands or millions or whatever it's worth these days, okay, that is understandable. Now, if you're selling something that is not worth that in the market, you have to look into the potential money laundering implications of that. And I think that there's a lot of that, lots of questions about how he's selling this art and who is buying it. Some Chinese dude buying this? All right, okay. Elaboration is needed, please. In the US, we have baseball, football, basketball, and soccer. So the term soccer is derogatory. It's not it's not a game that anyone else plays, and all of those games, no one. Globally, no one cares nearly as much. Baseball, you have to go to maybe Cuba to find someone that cares about baseball. Football, like American football, no one in the planet plays that. No one plays American football. No one. It's stupid. I mean, sorry, but it's a stupid sport. If you like that kind of sport, play rugby. Now, rugby is a game that you will find international competitions. You could have a rugby team. You're talking about tough, big guys that play a tough sport. And yeah, it's something that everyone else plays. So that means you could have an American national team that competes against other countries. That's what you have with the World Cup right now. But these games that no one else plays, you will only have these things that are almost just like pure commercial enterprises. The Super Bowl? No one else watches it. No one in the planet other than in America, no one else watches the Super Bowl. It is terribly boring. And even in the competition itself, you have a rigged system. You don't even have a system by which teams can be, brought down from the A team, and new up and going teams could climb that ladder, right? Like you have in football in other countries, in other leagues. The idea that a team can go from the A team, from the top team, to a B division, that puts everything at a much higher stake. That doesn't exist in U.S. sports, and it makes it boring as hell to have the same guys play one another. Anyway, at least that's the way it looks to us. All you have to do is field strip it and remove internal magazines. Yeah, okay. Yeah, running out of time. I want to go. Yeah, the idea, I want to talk about revolvers. It was a great thread going in AR15.com about the real world advantages of revolvers, and the amount of footage out there of cops and people with concealed carry permits, but mostly cops that you see with their guns going out of battery because it was pressed against the attacker, or in this fight, something, the hands touched in the slide as the gun was being fired, and that caused an interruption. There's a number of real world examples as of why at times, especially with a certain amount of training, a revolver could present a better option. Again, it is strongly linked to training. With adequate training and frequent frequent refreshing of that training that you've acquired, those skills that you acquire by continuing to do so a couple times a year, 3 times a year, whatever it is. But it requires a level of training and maintaining that skill that a revolver at times is not as demanding. So yeah. I like revolvers. As you see, I mostly shoot Glock. But there is something to be said about how simple and reliable a revolver can be, even though a pistol is by far mechanically more simple and more rugged than any revolver you could think of. Conscious movie reviews: Elvis Presley, Elvis Christmas album, 1957, circa, worth $18,000. Of course, things have a certain collector value. For that knife there, that's a World War II era K-bar knife, marked K-bar, and I have the paperwork for it. So who owned that knife back in 1942. It has a name on the scabbard of the K-bar. Cool stuff. That has a certain price in the market, and you kind of can tell exactly how much it's worth based on the marking and the condition always very important, but that has a fixed value. You could go with something that is not like a historical piece, but simply has modern collector value, like a Pikachu comic, like a Pikachu playing card from Pokemon. Someone buys it at $100,000, but it is in the market. There's people that will pay that. If you do if you auction it, it will go. Try auctioning some of that shit that crackhead Biden, Hunter Biden does. Who will auction for that? And give me actual names. Some real citizen in the United States paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for that crackhead's art. I don't think you'll find any of that. You'll probably find shady characters that do it, but not not in other places. Anyway, yeah, kind of running out of time, and I have to move over to the Spanish channel where people are probably looking to have a word or two about the match. Broom 39, thank you, man, for the super chat again. Much appreciated. Always. Always appreciating the support for the channel. Look up Alpha Investments on YouTube if you want to see stuff about collector cards, Magic the Gathering, same as those cards with tens of thousands. I have some Magic the Gathering cards that I bought when I first saw them in my life. I saw them. I actually probably lost a lot of money because I gave some of those for my kids to play. Some of the, I don't ruin my day. This is a happy day for me. Don't tell me how much an original package of Magic the Gathering is worth, because I had one of those unopened for decades, and I gave it for one of my kids to play, and I still have them floating around. I probably have a couple boxes of original Magic the Gathering cards, and I haven't looked it up how much it's worth. It's probably worth a lot of money. But I know that one of those packs I left unopened, and one day I make this stupid, dumb as fuck decision of giving my kid, knowing that it was probably super valuable. I said, go play with this. Anyway, I probably still have some full decks of Magic the Gathering card from back in the day. Because I thought it would be worth a lot of money one day, and it probably is. Anyway, good points about shooting prone. I got mine before the assault weapons ban, and it was my do everything for years. Okay, Jill. Yeah, I'll quickly go through the last ones. Jill Negreed. Hello, Fernando. What do you think the bottom price of Bitcoin will be? I don't know how much it is right now. I don't think it will drop really a lot more than it did. Jill, my advice would be look at how it collapsed before. One of the things that makes me be so sure about Bitcoin, in spite of those, going up $60,000, $20,000, going, it always survives. It is still worth, I don't know how many thousands of dollars. So it keeps on surviving these collapses. It's supposed to collapse to nothing. It never does. It is always worth thousands of dollars. Something that has survived for so long probably has something going for it. Usually, 20% of its peak, it would be as low as it goes before people start going back into it. I don't know. I would try to look at the historic curve and avoid those peaks and look how it keeps on, look at the low points, how it still keeps on going up. Conscious movie reviews. Football sticker was one of the hottest trends by kids these days. It will be. I think that eventually football, not soccer. Soccer, forget about soccer. That's not a real game. That's terrible. Football is something that by the time you have the next World Cup in the United States, man, get yourself a couple of tickets. Go to a couple of those matches. It is kind of impressive. The SKS tends to be more accurate than the AK. Yes, it is. Not by a whole lot, but yeah, it is. It is easier to shoot prone and makes a better pike with a bayonet extended. Yes, that is true. And there was a time in which they were dirt cheap, which also helps. Guys, gotta go to the next channel. I checked the average cost for a seat World Cup. Watch the NFL 2023 Arizona for 4,000. Yeah, I wouldn't pay that. Try to, and you can, final tip for you guys to make money: buy the tickets of the World Cup. You will be able to resell those tickets for 3 or 4 times as much. So my last tip of the day for you guys to make money: try scalping World Cup, FIFA World Cup tickets before 2026. That will be the easiest way of making money that you have. South Carolina is good. What are you saying? I don't know what reference to that. It's really amazing. I'm so happy for Argentina. Realize making an NFT was bad. No, I think it's a poor decision as a running president of the United States. As that's at least the way I see it. But everyone can make their own choices. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for the support and being here on the channel. See you next time. Take care.